Have you ever noticed a water spot on your ceiling when there hasn't been any recent rain?
Or noticed a drain line to the outside where puddles starting to form?
Today we're going to cover some of the reasons why that might happen, and some of the answers might surprise you.
We'll help you catch that early and possibly save you some money.
Welcome to Heating and Cooling Tips with Anthem Mechanical. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mike.
Today we're going to cover some of the reasons why you might see a water spot in your ceiling or a puddle in the closet where your furnace and coil are located.
There's 4 areas that we'll talk about today where your air conditioner system produces condensation, and we'll have you look at where it's normally coming out and where it may be a problem so you can catch it early and hopefully save you some money.
Mike, you mentioned there were 4 reasons why you might see this water in your home. Could you go over what that first reason might be?
The first one would be your primary drain line. Your air conditioner system actually condenses water as it cools, and it needs to drain that water out. So your air conditioner system's hooked up with a PVC drain line that will drain back out to the outside. On the outside of your home, about ankle height somewhere, you'll see a PVC outlet that is where the water should be draining from. That's normal operation for it.
If this water is supposed to drain through this line, well, why would it possibly be backing up and causing an issue in my home?
There's a couple of areas where this thing could get clogged, okay? Inside here, it's wet, it's moist, it's a great area for algae and other things to grow and start to clog up. So you want to clear that out. Another area is as dust goes through your system, sometimes it catches on the coil, will drain down with the condensating water and come out and catch on anything that's in here, so you'll get dust in there. And finally, you could have a windstorm, which we get often out here, where dust or debris will actually blow back into the system from the outside and could cause a clog on the outside.
So if we see this problem, what do we have to do to take care of it?
So what we like to do is in a garage, you'll normally have an open spout here. We will put compressed air or nitrogen and blow it back down in here, and we'll also blow some back into your coil to make sure it's cleared both ways. In an attic where you do not have this primary drain line, you'll typically have we'll go in there and cut the PVC, blow it both ways, or we like to add this device here so that we don't need to cut it. This allows us to turn the nozzle, hook our nitrogen tank up, blow it one way, turn it the other, and blow the other way. It's an easy way so we're not cutting and gluing the PVC back together all the time. In your attic, you'll also have a secondary drain line.
Now, is this something that we should only do when we have a problem, or is it something that we should do as part of routine maintenance?
This should be done at least once a year, okay? When we do our routine maintenance, we go up into the attic and we make sure that we blow this out. It's really important because a little problem like this that's easy to fix can cost you a lot of money in drywall damage. In the attic, the secondary drain line will actually be hooked up to another PVC, and this secondary drain line in an attic system will typically drop water above a door or below or a window. So that we do that so that you actually notice that there is a problem. If you see water dripping from a drain outside a window or a door, stop. There's a problem with your system, and it's probably a clogged primary drain line.
You might have noticed me come in with this earlier. This relates to what our second issue might be.
Second issue would be a cracked primary drain pan. Your system actually has a built-in pan down here that catches all the condensating water, allowing it to build up and drain out of your condensation line. If this pan cracks though, these lines right here will not be able to catch all that water. It's going to leak out through those cracks.
When do we typically see this pan crack?
Older systems typically would have it rusted out or crack or something like that. Movement in it can do it, but it's typically in older systems that you'll see this happening. But there are a couple of ways to catch it and try to fix it.
Is it something that I could do myself?
Well, probably not, because you do have to open up this system. But when you open up the system, if there's small cracks in there, we can use something called a pan seal. So we can seal up the small cracks in there and allow this system to go. You may, on older systems, want to look at replacing it because that pan seal's not going to last all that long. It's kind of like a caulking that needs to be replaced every once in a while. The next one is the item that's in your hand right here. This is a secondary drain pan, a safety pan. Where it goes is in an attic where this thing's horizontal. It actually lays right underneath your system. And if there is a leak, it's going to actually drain into your pan to the outside. So it's going to catch that water, get it to the outside before it hits your drywall or your furnace.
Sounds like something very easy that could get ahead of something that can be very costly to fix.
It can be. If you think fixing drywall is expensive, try replacing your system because of water damage that was easily preventable. You want to make sure that in your attic, you add a primary or secondary drain pan. That may be something that you can do at home, but you may want to call somebody out to do it. You also may want to add something called a safety switch. This item will actually turn your system off if the primary drain pan clogs up and water starts to touch this secondary drain. It's going to turn it off, and you'll have to have somebody come and reset it, clear the drain line, and make sure your system's working properly. It's an inexpensive way to save a lot of money.
The third reason why we might see your system leaking water is because your system might get frozen, or what we call in the industry iced up. There are a few reasons why this may happen, but the main culprit is a lack of airflow to the system. The most obvious way that you can address this as a homeowner is to make sure that you change your filter periodically. If your filter is dirty, it prevents airflow from going through the system, which again can cause it to freeze up. The second thing that you can do is to make sure that all your vents and registers are open. A lot of times we will see people out here in the desert close vents and registers in certain areas of the home. While it may feel like it may make that area more comfortable, it can cause an issue with your system by reducing the airflow through the unit.
You know what we also see a lot of out here? Is we see a lot of people who put a couch or something up against the return air. If they come up from the floor, they'll set something on top of it. A lot of times they'll push something up on it on the wall. So making sure that you have good airflow through the system is really beneficial to that system, and making sure you don't create a problem like icing up. If a part breaks in here though, can that cause icing up too? Like a fan or something?
Absolutely, because if you're stopping airflow from going through the system, that causes our problem of the unit being frozen. And how the unit being frozen may cause water in your home is, eventually that ice is going to thaw or melt. When it thaws or melts, it has to go somewhere. And oftentimes that is into your furnace, which can cause expensive repairs, or if your unit is in your attic, on your drywall ceiling, it can cause expensive construction repairs to try to get this fixed, patched, paint, and taken care of.
So to prevent this, what should I do?
To prevent this, what you should do, and again, is change your filter periodically. Make sure you leave your vents and registers open. Now, if you do those two things, and you still see an issue with your system freezing up, that may be an indicator of there being a further problem with your system. If that's the case, we do recommend calling a trained professional to come and perform a full diagnosis to see what the cause of your problem is. So far, we've covered 3 out of the 4 reasons why your AC might be leaking water. To recap, the first reason might be this drain line becoming clogged. The second reason may be a crack in your primary drain pan on your coil. And the third reason may be a restriction or a lack of airflow in your system, causing your coil to freeze up, and when that ice melts, it creates water. Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell us what the fourth reason is?
So the fourth reason would be condensation or water droplets that actually come onto your copper lines that run from your outside unit to your inside unit through the attic. These lines tend to be extremely cold, and so when the hot air from your attic comes in contact with these, they will start to produce water droplets of condensation. These droplets then could fall off onto your attic, causing wet spots in your ceiling, which could be a problem. What we like to do is keep them insulated using a foam insulation all the way through from your outside to your inside area. So.
Not only will the insulation help with water damage, but it also helps with the efficiency of your system. If these lines are cold, we want to keep them cold so your system doesn't have to work harder using more power to cool your home. Mike, is this insulation always there? What might be some causes of this start to fall off or deteriorate?
So this insulation should be there. Older homes probably don't have it, and newer homes should have it. But a lot of times, especially near your condenser outside, you may notice that this stuff has just been rotted away because of the sun damage, etc. It's really easy and very efficient to add this stuff to the accessible areas. Inside your attic, it's a little more difficult to get to these areas, But if you do notice that you are missing some, or it started to erode because of either rodents or just the heat of your attic in many years, you can go in there and you can start to add some of this stuff to help your system run more efficient and stop any water droplets that may condensate on those lines and drop onto your drywall.
So far, we've covered some of the reasons why you might see water leaking from your AC in your home. Some of the things, like changing your filter, are things that are very easy to do on your own. But if you have any questions or need help with the items like installing a safety switch, unclogging your drain line, or installing a secondary drain pan, our information is on the screen. Please feel free to give us a call.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Andrew.
Serving the Coachella Valley and Riverside area. Thank you for joining us on Anthem's Air Conditioning and Heating Tips.